how to create a warped abstract design such as this in Photoshop using gradients and other features of Photoshop. Go to layer and flatten it. It's already flattened. And then edit and fill. I'm just going to fill it with white. You could fill it with anything. Click OK. Then go to the gradient tool. So the gradient tool is great, but you could use images, you could use type, a whole load of different designs. So gradient tool, and then go up here. You've got control bar, and you've got all these gradients. Now you can use any gradient. I'm going to use one of the default legacy gradients there, and select that. If you haven't got those, go to the gradients panel and right side menu and use the legacy gradients there. So select this one, and this is a rainbow one, linear, and go with difference, and simply add. Just click and then drag any distance. Click and drag any distance again, and you can create all kinds of lovely colourful designs very quickly. That's why it's not possible probably to create exactly the same design each and every time. Now what I do normally, I go over layers and I then click there. So now your layer is it's not locked. So you can now quickly turn it into a smart object. So I'm just going to go to layer and smart objects and convert to smart object. And the great thing about this is you can come back to this at any point and change it. If you don't do that, in many cases, you just have to start all the way back at the beginning. But this approach, smart objects, means you can create smart objects to envelope all these different stages. And you can do it over and over and over again. And then you can edit all the way through. So now you can see it's a smart object. You've got a little change there. That's what happens. It just gives a there. What you can also do is you can go to edit and down to transform. So edit menu and transform. And you've got other options here. You can scale, rotate, but you can also warp. So click that. Now your default one probably won't match that. Just go up here. Along the control bar again, you've got this grid. So you can turn around and say, oh, I want 3 by 3. Though that does seem to be more than 3 by 3. Click 5 by 5 and so on. You can create, but what you can also do is custom. Click there and go with 25 and 1 or another setting. Click OK. And you can see you've got those lines. That does look more than 25 there. But what you can then do is that you can see along top, if you just bring that down, because of course it was hidden before, you can see all those dots and you can select them. Now it's quite possible to make a mistake and click that one, hold down the shift and accidentally miss 1 or 2. Doesn't particularly matter, but I'll try and go to alternate. And so I'm just going to select that one, then this one, and you can see I've got a gap there. So 1's not selected, 1's selected. And you can go all the way along. Just quickly do that. Select them all. Now it's, I say, quite easy to make a mistake with this, but you go down the bottom and do exactly the same. And you can match it. You can see that one at the top, that one at the bottom. And again, go along. That's why I say it's sometimes quite easy to misselect. Select that, and then that one, and that one, and that one. And you should now have all those selected. And what it does mean is you can now simply just drag. And as you do that, you can see what happens. It distorts that gradient. And you can distort it in all kinds of different directions. But I'm generally going to just go up and down. So up and down like that. So you get this lovely wave design, which is still live, still editable. And you can click here. Once that takes a few seconds to process. And once you've done that, you've now got your warped design. But again, you can go over here and you can combine it. You can combine this transform with the other smart object. Make something selected, then go to layer and smart objects and convert to smart object. So it's converted all into one smart object, both those features, those settings. Oh, now you can duplicate it. So you can just duplicate this one. So layer and duplicate, if that's what you want to do. And click OK. Now you could create 5 or 6. You could combine multiple ones. I'm only going to go with 2, but you could use 5, let's say 10. And you can see that. However, what I need to do then is go to the Move tool, select Move tool, and I'm going to reposition it. And also, I'm going to rotate it. So you've got this bounding box. You need this to be turned on, show transform controls. If that's not turned on, it's not so easy. So you just, now sometimes it will just suddenly go, but I'm just going to rotate it. Not perfectly 90 degrees. You can, of course, set it exactly and scale it. And you can scale it, move it around, reposition it. Press return. And now you've got that design. Now you can't see the underlying layer, but you can if you go to normal, just go to layers, and then go down to difference. And you can see what happens. You get this very weird design. Now what you can also do, before you do that, maybe you say, you know, I don't want that square design. I don't like that square design. Well, you can also, and I'm just going to delete this layer. I know I just created it, but I'm just going to delete it. Yes. And what I can do, I can add also effects to it or filters. So I can go to this one, and it's a smart object still. I can go to filter, and I can go to distort, and I can actually use wave or any of the other ones as well. So wave, and you can see what happens. You've got wave. You just go in here, number generated 97. Don't have to go with that. You maybe want to go for something about 100. Of course, depends on the size document, various factors. Just check out what you want for the settings. Wavelength, I would suggest push them up to about 700 or so. Amplitude, keep them fairly low, but you can just change it. You don't want it too great because if you push it too high, you can see the result. Just completely goes. What you need about 14, 10, so you can get a nice wavy design using this design. You can use repeat or wrap. Again, if that's the result you want. I'm going to go with repeat. Looks fine to me. And sign. So click OK. And you can see the design there. You've got this nice warp design. Now, as before I do any work, I'm just going to go to Layer and Smart Objects and Convert to Smart Object again. So that effect is also now in that entire Smart Object. So you've got all these different layers of Smart Object, which can all be edited. Now what you can do, you can go to Layer and you can duplicate. So duplicate, click OK. And rotate it. Now again, it doesn't have to be 90 degrees. I'm just going to go approximately 90 degrees, resize it a bit. Now it depends on, of course, the size of the document. If you've got a very large document, one direction, other, you might want to stretch it out. And press return. And now you've got that. Now you can see over here in the layers panel, you've got 2 layers. Go here, blending mode, and go down to difference. And now you've still got that sort of square design, but it's still better than I think before. Or you can vary it again. Maybe this time simply select both of them. You can always do that. Select both of those. And again, layer and go to smart objects and convert to smart object. You can make smart objects of smart objects. With this design, you can then simply just go up here, filters, maybe go down to distort, and again, wave. And you can then distort that. Maybe not push it as much. Number of generators, reduce that down. But you can create all kinds of weird and wonderful distortions with that. Click OK. And you can see the result there. And again, you can still resize it within reason. Click OK. So resize that a bit so you can, I don't want the edges there. Press return. It's all again, smart object. Again, go to layer and smart objects and convert to smart object. So it's all one smart object. Go to filters and then go to stylize and you go down to oil paint. And I like oil paint. So you've got here stylization, put it up fairly to the max. Cleanliness, I always generally turn lighting off. I don't really like the lighting effect. I don't know why, it just doesn't seem to. Now it sometimes can be useful for creating sort of 3-dimensional designs, but I'm just not so keen on it. So I generally turn it off. I just use oil paint for a nice sort of smudgy sort of, make it slightly blurry effect. Gives it a nice, I like it. Well, you got your design there. Well, that's, even though So that's why you can resize it, reposition it again at any point. Just resize it. Obviously, again within limits, just to avoid having that slightly horrible bit there. But you might decide, you know what? I want to change everything. I've decided I don't like those colours. At this point, what you can do, now I'm not going to convert that to a smart object, but you could do that as well, and then combine it and continue. But double click at any point if you want to change the smart object. So double click, got that, double click, and you can see again you've got that layer and you can see the result there, and you could resize that if you want. If you're not happy with it, double click there, and double click there. And at any point you can always add some other effects. So you might say, you know what, I like to add at this point filter and distort and maybe twirl. So you can just add a twirl, very subtle twirl. That distorts the design even more. Again, up to you. But again, you can still double click, go into this design. You can see then the warp, the transform. You can apply and modify that transform. So edit and down to transform and warp. So you can edit that design. Double click again, and then you're back to your original gradient. And you can go and add filter, maybe decide, distort and wave. So at any point, distort and wave, you can use another one, and you can create all kinds of oddball, unusual designs there. You can just change that, tweak that, click OK. Maybe decide, change the colours. Go to the gradient tool again, just apply, cross there, and you can create other designs. So you've got that. Or maybe go to filter and apply blurs or oil paint. However, you'll notice it's PSP. It's a PSP file. Close it, save. Takes a few seconds to process. That end result there is that. Close that, save. And you, of course, can add other effects to that, and you can see the result there with that effect, which you can remove if you don't want it. Save. And you can see the end result there. Again, maybe the twirl was a step too far. Click OK, save. And you can see the end result there. And again, PSP, you've gone all the way through it now. Once you close this one, close that and save. And there's the end result. Lovely twirl. And it's still live. So at any point, you can go all the way back through and change the gradient. You can also change other settings as well. And also, what you can do with this one at this stage, you can always go to image and maybe adjustments and maybe modify vibrance or invert or other settings. So image, adjustments, and maybe hue and saturation, and just tweak it if you're not happy exactly with the colours. Hope you found this tutorial of interest. Any questions, please let me know in the comments below. Always great to hear from you. Thank you much.